So right behind me is a bit of a crazy real estate title property scam that has gone down. A local friend living here told me all about it. I came down to the building that's in question, actually got on the phone with the owner of the building, and in today's Tip Thursday with me, Connor Klein, I'm going to be outlining a few tips for you to avoid real estate property scams here in Ukraine, a few of the most common ones, and why in particular you really need to focus on doing your due diligence before you invest in your dream Odessa Black Sea villa maybe, or that Kiev penthouse. Поехали. Алло, это Конор.
Да.
Я из Ирландии, у меня канал на YouTube для иностранцев, которые хотят жить в Украине. И, конечно, проблема с квартирами есть большой риск. Да? Вот что случилось, это интересно. Мне знать, что я могу сказать в видео, например, что случилось, что они не в это мошенники.
Ну ничего, что регистраторы регистрируют по фальшивым документам несуществующую собственность. То есть они ее создают из воздуха. Ну, чтобы было так понятно.
Просто создают ненастоящие документы.
Да, ненастоящие собственность, да. То есть регистраторы просто из воздуха делают собственность.
So when my friend wrote me and sent me some photos from this building beside me, we're in the center of Odessa, just on the edge, I would say, of the historic center. You have older buildings here, and there are all these signs up telling you that this building is not for sale, and there's actually a phone number to the owner of the building. Now, it was in Russian and in English. So what she said is that many false titles to this building were sold, and as a result people invested money thinking they were buying this property when they didn't have actually the legal title to it, and that is something that you have to be really careful of when you're investing in real estate in general, but in particular in the crazy wild east of Europe here in Ukraine, and especially in Odessa Mama. Now if you go down and you read those articles I've linked below, it's not just here, it's actually even in lovely Lviv, which tends to be less corrupt and more honest, I would say, in my experience. In the west of Ukraine also had a scandal there, and if you read through the article, it's pretty similar to what has been alleged happened with this building in the center of Odessa. So the question for you is, well, how can you put yourself in the best position to avoid these scams as a foreigner if it's catching out like literally tens of thousands of locals? This thing with the title, obviously a couple of people, but with construction scams, well, we'll say the construction not being fulfilled and actually getting your apartment inside a building being also a problem at times in Kiev, the capital. What can you do to make sure that you are in the best position when you take advantage of the massive investment opportunities that there are here in Ukraine? It is extremely attractive in terms of price to invest here. A comparable property in, say, the center of Paris or London, another big European capital, or say a seaside town like Marseille in France might be a bit more comparable to Odessa here. It's going to be multiple times the cost. So let's see what I recommend that you can do in order to minimize the risk.
Ну, я что хочу сказать, что написано на моих бордах. Информация в реестре не является истиной последней инстанции. То есть надо еще реально понимать, та ли собственность, то, что написано в реестре, является в действительности.
Я поняла, да. Я это все
То есть в реестре может быть, да, собственность, которая в природе не существует.
So not only do property scams affect the actual real estate market and purchasing property, they also are prevalent in the rental sector. So if you're coming here to Ukraine and you're thinking of renting something, and maybe in the beginning before you buy a place, or you're coming just for a couple of months, a year, maybe up to 3 months, splitting it up, and you don't want to actually purchase somewhere at the moment, then you may be caught out by these rental scams. Now down below, again, I'm going to drop a link to a Ukrainian show where they outline 3 scams, but I think First of all, you have to be able to understand Ukrainian to be able to watch the video. But on top of that, I think just really the third scam is the most interesting one. So I'm going to describe it briefly. So basically what happens is the scammers, they rent out an apartment on Airbnb and they rent it for say 2-3 days. And they then post that with all the photos, all the nice photos they probably were taken by the Airbnb host. They post it on a local Ukrainian long-term rental website. So I'm going to rent it out for a long contract, at least a year, maybe less now, maybe 6 months. And they put it at a very attractive price, get a lot of interest. So maybe apartment that they were going to rent out should be $800 US a month, but they're renting it there for $500, $600, looks undervalued. They get huge interest immediately, in the first few days, and they absolutely pack the appointments to see the apartment. When people call up, they're like, yeah, apartment is available, there's a lot of interest, so want to get down here really quick to get this bargain rental. Next, they show the prospective renter their documents, which are fake. They actually have fake title to the property, plus maybe even a fake Ukrainian passport, so you don't know that they're not actually the owner of the building. And they request that you pay the first month, the last month, and maybe a third month or some sort of deposit. So you got 3 months rental. So just say for our simple on the back of an envelope calculation, they do that for 3 months at $500. That's $1,500 US that they take immediately from each victim. They pack that, with 20 appointments a day for half an hour. For 2 days, they get maybe 40 people in. Maybe they close, we'll say 25% of that, so they close 10 people. That will be $15,000 in a 2-day scam. Then, of course, they disappear. So don't be caught out. It's a pretty hard one actually to protect yourself against, because verifying the documents is a little bit tricky. And if the person has a fake title and a fake passport, and obviously they're using urgency, the fact that it's a really amazing bargain for you to get, it's too good to be true. If it's too good to be true, then it probably isn't real. Now, recently I had another video here on my channel, a podcast about a big romance scam, but it actually also involved a property scam here in Odessa. In that video, I'll link it down below in the description, also up in a card. The gentleman was from Britain, or the investor will say from Britain. He later in the article, it's a BBC expose, described himself a bit of an idiot for doing it, but on the real estate, he basically sent money to a company that then bought the property in someone else's, in that company's name, and it became a complete mess. And of course, he trusted someone he shouldn't have been trusting. So you need to get proper legal advice. You need to get a notary who's going to check the title for you in general, not rely on someone who's trying to pitch it to you or whatnot. Now that might seem pretty obvious, get proper legal advice, but you need to know a good, reliable notary here. And my assessment is that they can't be 100% certain in any case in a country like Ukraine, particularly in Odessa, but they can get you maybe around something like 90% of the way in terms of ensuring your property rights. There are still at times legal issues, so it is a little bit of a minefield here, but they're going to go and they're going to search for you in all the government registers and cadastres, for obviously the title documents, any mortgages, any liens, any outstanding debts that are connected with the property that might hinder the transfer, with any transaction that then you engage with later. Obviously then verify the identity of the true owner of the property, something that seems to have been an issue right here at this building. And that's what they're going to do, and then they're going to drop a report for you, and then based on that assessment you can decide whether you want to go ahead with the transaction or not. Now this is something that is becoming more and more pertinent for my clients who come to Eastern Europe, and in particular to Ukraine, to live the Zara experience for themselves over the longer period. So they come here to move for 3 to 12 months a year, and a lot of them are tempted to invest in the real estate market here because of the extremely attractive prices. And if you're spending a lot of time here, then a lot of them want to live in the house or the apartment that they then purchase, or they want to actually rent it out as as a property on Airbnb or something else, so they can buy several of those, and they need that kind of assistance. So there are two ways in which I help my clients. One is that they join my program, which is for high level guys, my high level consultation group for guys who want to live here in Ukraine for 3 to 12 months a year. It's called Slavic Utopia Secrets Ukraine. I will put a link to that down below in the description to this video, and that is on demand. It's opened up about once a year for the live enrollments. Watch out for that as well. Make sure that you're on my free mailing list. I'll put a link to that down below as well, and then you sign up for that, and then later on I will send you an email when it opens up for live enrollment again. Alternatively, prospective clients, they can't reach out to me and they reserve a consulting call, and we go through together exactly the strategy that they need. Normally for moving here to Ukraine, and obviously investing in property is part of that. I'll put a link to that down below in the description to this video as well. And on that, we dive deep into getting the right strategy for you. If you are planning to come here and buy real estate, which normally means you're probably planning to spend a good bit of time here in Ukraine, more than the 90 days visa free. So we go into that particular strategy for you. So those two links are down below in the video description. So if you are considering coming here and think about real estate or relocating, then they are two great resources for you. In any case, maybe you're watching this video and you are not planning to buy property here yourself, and not planning to relocate, but you have a friend who is thinking about it, then they should definitely be aware of these kind of scams and just be wary, extra wary, if they are planning to come here and invest. So obviously send them on this video. Cool. So I'm going to go out because I have a French friend over for the weekend here in Odessa, Mama. It is pumping. It is the middle of summer. It's the last weekend in July when I'm filming this, and it's about 33, 34 degrees Celsius during the day. Absolutely sweltering, but we do have the sea breeze off the Black Sea. If you had your Black Sea villa in Odessa overlooking that Black Sea, well, you'll be able to enjoy this weather on your balconies. So just picture that. But anyways, in the meantime, I'm going to go and bring him around and show him the stellar nightlife that we have here in the summer. So I'll see you in the next video. Do побачення, до свидання from Odessa, Mama, Ukraine.
SAR Experience.